Welcome back to Bat Fridays here on One Comic Book a Day, where I've only seen a third of the Batman. The projector broke an hour into the movie, so I do know Gotham is a powder keg, and that the projection really didn't like Gordon saying that Gotham is a powder keg. Just that same scene over and over again. They even started 10 minutes earlier, and it still broke there, and I waited like an hour for them to try to fix it, and they just canceled it because they couldn't get the projector to work. I had enjoyed what I had seen so far, and technically, the amount I had seen would be enough for mostly a regular movie. Today we are covering Detective Comics number 41, The Masked Menace of the Boys' School, a title I have to keep looking up because it's a mouthful. It's a story that is the third attempt at a mystery story, the last being the Clayface story and the Catwoman story before that. This one actually doesn't have a villain that will recur. And that's part of its weakness, but its real weakness is its red herring and how integral that red herring is to the mystery and how it's sort of set up. It's trying to break with tradition, but by breaking tradition, and I have nothing against breaking tradition as long as you do it well, ends up being so unimportant to the rest of the mystery that it just doesn't work. And I feel like this is the weakest Golden Age Batman story I've read so far, and that includes stories where he shoots a vampire in the heart with a gun. That's at least interesting to talk about. So a madman has escaped from the asylum, not Arkham Asylum yet, just the asylum, the insane asylum, I believe the exact words were. He goes over to the Blake's School for Boys, a private boarding school for kids in Gotham, boys specifically in Gotham, and he murders the janitor. I think it takes like a halfway through this comic for them to tell us that he murdered the janitor. It might be in the newspaper column at the beginning. And at the same time, one of the kids goes missing. And if you're like me, you probably think that the murder is the mystery of this plot. It's not. It ends up being the red herring. The weird part about this is our presentation of the murder is what seems to be the main important part of the mystery, and that the disappearance is part of it. When it's actually the other way around, the disappearance is the mystery, while the murder is just kind of seems a part of it, but isn't. Like, say, in the Hounds of Baskerville, the red herring of the guy who's escaped from the insane asylum. Just like that, except that's not introduced at the beginning of the mystery. It's introduced later while investigating the mystery. I feel like this weakens the story because we're so focused on the murder, which is the unimportant part, and the story itself is so uninterested in the murder because it's aware that the murder isn't important. Like, no one talks about it after it gets brought up. It shows up and Robin easily deals with it. Like, it takes a second to deal with. It never kind of takes away from the mystery like a red herring is supposed to be, because it's just another obstacle of something that ends up not being important, but you have to look into it, taking away from the actual mystery. That doesn't happen. They seem to be quite aware that it's unimportant. Like, the school doesn't have security. No one is wondering where this madman is who murdered the janitor. It just doesn't work. And I was always kind of in the headset that we're supposed to be looking for the murderer, and none of the story seems to be all that worried about it. To find the kid, Bruce enrolls Dick Grayson into the school so he can investigate, and at night Dick becomes Robin and does investigate. We do get several suspects, which is once again weird because it's supposed to be a murder mystery where we should know that a madman whose identity we should know, but possibly took this kid because he murdered a guy. But no, they seem to be pretty focused on someone at the school did it, or might even be involved with the madman, but that's not even said. Once again, two things feel like they're completely unrelated, and they are, but you need to like integrate that red herring more into the plot. So we get several suspects as we meet the teachers, one of which is discharged because he tried to fail a student whose father had paid a lot of money into the school, and he even threatens Blake, the principal, or he should really be the headmaster here, that he's going to fix him, which, word of advice, if you ever get fired, do not threaten your boss in any way in case something bad happens to the boss later. And we meet other teachers, one of which is sort of curt and mysterious. When Robin investigates, he ends up finding the diary that the police couldn't find. Turns out the kid just disguised it as one of his normal books. Well, these police suck. No wonder they need Batman. But as soon as he finds it, a masked man shows up, not a very interesting villain, unlike Clayface or the Cat. He takes the diary away from Robin, and Robin's about to fight him, but Robin gets easily taken out by the guy waving a chair at him. Robin keeps getting beaten by pretty ordinary dudes by just being overly arrogant. I don't think Batman's trained him well enough. Later, he keeps trying to find this masked man, but ends up coming across the murderer and takes him out easily. So, dude in a mask with a chair, hard. Murderous maniac with a knife, easy. Dude had murdered before, it's nothing to Robin. Guy with chair, hard. Eventually, he finds Blake has been murdered after the madman has been sent away. Greer, the teacher who was discharged, seems to be wanted for it, but he's adamant that he didn't do it. And eventually, Robin is able to find the masked man at night and sees that he escapes in a hidden panel. And this is where this story just goes really weird. What a mystery, because it's not particularly an interesting mystery. Apparently, the masked man is the arts teacher, who is a master engraver, and he and the principal, Blake, were making counterfeit money, but Blake got cold feet, so they had to kill Blake. And for some reason, they ended up having to kidnap the kid, though that's not really explained very well, but they kidnapped the kid. So Robin comes in and is able to fight the guy pretty easily now that he doesn't have a chair, and Batman has his usual appears standing there, and everybody's like, oh god! And they beat him. But like, what is this mystery? It's not particularly very interesting, because like, there's nothing about like counterfeit money or anything of this presented. A mystery has to be somewhat of a fair game. We gotta have clues to try to figure it out. This all just feels like random happenstance. There's no way for anyone who's reading this to even try to figure this out, because like the next turn is just so against what we've already learned. Like there's no reason for them to take the kid, so that doesn't add up to anything in the mystery. The murder has nothing to do with the mystery. It's about counterfeiting, and counterfeiting hasn't been brought up at all, so we can't even put together that the art teacher would have been involved, because there's nothing about art counterfeit money out there. So yeah, I have a lot of trouble with this story, and it's not particularly very fun. Robin has some fun lines, and Batman makes one sardonic joke at one point, but not a very good Batman story, I'm sad to say. Okay, so that is it from Detective Comics number 41, The Masked Menace of the Boys' School. I had real trouble remembering that title again. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I do this Monday through Friday, but Mondays and Thursdays I usually cover a Superman story, either a story in Action Comics or one of the stories in Superman. And join me next time. Same Bat Day, same comic book channel. Have a great day. I'm going to finish Batman today.